Good evening, everyone. Councilman Mike Rasmussen here. This is my council update for the Smyrna Town Council for December 20th, 2021. Hope everyone's having a good evening. It's finally getting cold outside. That was nice walking home or riding my scooter home. For those of you who haven't seen these, this is after every council meeting, I'm putting together a little update just to give you a quick overview of what happened at the council meeting and some of the actions that were taken or any kind of important or interesting information. This was a pretty quick meeting. There was really only one very large item on our agenda, which was addressing some of the policies that we use for some of our financial pieces here in town. So I'll dig into that real fast. And then I'm actually going to spend a few minutes. I'll post this eventually in the comments. I put together a little summary on some of the economic development stuff that we've done in the last year, because when I had a chance to reflect on it recently, there was a lot. And I think it was some significant pieces of work. I've mentioned a number of these, but it's kind of neat to see it all in one place. So I'll make sure I post that as in the comments so you can take a look at it there and see what I mentioned here in the video. So as far as updates go, it's the end of the year. Not a lot of things are happening. People are trying to wrap stuff up. One of the big pieces is that last Sunday, if you didn't have a chance, the Smyrna Police Department put on a really fun day. There was the 5K in the morning, the Bad Santa Run. Over at the Smyrna Opera House, there was the holiday market. A lot of vendors inside. There were some of us outside. I was there running my table for Pain and Stave Distilling. Great turnout of people. It looked like it was a lot of folks inside and outside the whole time. Nice weather for it. And the police did a great job putting on that event. And it's they've done this. This is a couple of years now that they've sort of taken this and begun to grow it. Then there was the light parade down Main Street, which was a lot of fun. Lots of Grinches. I think that was like a 3-to-1 Grinch to Santa ratio for that, which was kind of cool. And then most people just followed straight down to the park right afterwards for the tree lighting ceremony. My kids had a great time playing in the parks. The first time they've gotten to be there after dark. And Smyrna Public Works did a great job lighting the tree, put all of that together. And so it was a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who made that happen. Thanks to Party Foul for playing down there, and the food trucks that showed up. Really cool piece. And so one of the conversations that was happening this week between the police department and the town manager and council is about doing some better coordinating for all of the different events, making sure that we're promoting them as well as possible. People know about Smyrna at Night. National Night Out, or Smyrna Night Out, as we've called it, is another event. There's now this that's becoming our Christmas in Smyrna event, and trying to coordinate those different activities better as we do more things and we get bigger. What can we take on and do? So a lot of this is planning for Smyrna at Night. The heads up on it is that, so we're looking at doing it really as kind of two different events. One event that is downtown that helps sort of promote and feature the downtown and downtown local businesses, and another one that's out at the municipal park, kind of like what we did last year, as well as things like Smyrna Night Out and the Light Parade, and hopefully a few other things as we continue to grow. So cool stuff happening there. Look for more of that, more promotions and better activity around some of these kind of town events in the next couple of years as we do more. The main agenda item on the council meeting tonight was we had a presentation about the capital impact fees. Very, very broadly, this isn't the most exciting stuff, but whenever there is a new construction or a new development, the town collects impact fees associated with that. Not all of those are impact fees that go to the town. Things like the fire and ambulance and school impact fees are pass-throughs, and the sewer impact fee from Kent County is a pass-through. The town collects them, and then we transfer that money on to those other entities. But a few of them around water, there's a water fee, there's a sewer fee, and there's an electric fee, and then there's a broad-scale municipal fee. Those are what the town uses in a lot of ways to fund infrastructure projects associated with new construction or new development. So, we want to put in, needs to be a new development or a new house or anything like that. You've got to get water, you've got to get sewer, you've got to get electric to those locations. And in some cases, like here in downtown, most of that infrastructure already exists. So the fees are set to reflect the upkeep costs of that infrastructure. In areas where the town is growing, and the biggest one of these, and as we look forward in the next 10 years, is likely going to be north of Duck Creek. Those are places where there's really significant and substantial infrastructure costs for the town. We're going to have to put in a new water tower. There's running water mains. There's putting in all of the sidewalks. There's making sure that everything is there. That is the town's responsibility. And so we commissioned a study to look at our current impact fees and create a plan to make our impact fees better reflect what our true needs are to keep up the infrastructure here in our community that we currently have, and to be able to put in the infrastructure that we need as our community grows. So the company that we contracted gave a presentation about what that looks like, what some of the cost of the fee increases are likely to be in order to truly reflect what our costs are going to be to develop and then maintain that infrastructure. And it's going to be, there will be increases in the fees, is what it comes down to. That we have not had our fees reflecting what our true costs are to match those in some time. Now, those are fees that are tied to, somebody builds a new house, there's impact fees. Somebody builds a new shopping center, there's impact fees. And now the impact fees are going to be designed based on a process that actually reflects the true usage. So a single family home uses more, has a greater impact than a multifamily home, has a greater impact than a warehouse building per square footage. So there's a whole new fee structure that's going in place that's going to reflect those true costs to the town. There's still a few steps. Today was the presentation of what that fee structure could and should look like. We accepted that presentation. It'll now be drafted into an ordinance that'll come back to us probably in January so that we can actually approve that and begin to implement those fees. And ultimately, what that means is that we're getting the right amount of resources to support the infrastructure that our community needs. So a lot of our meeting had to do with that, basically. To do that, we had to update basically accept that proposal. The other things, there are really three pieces. They had to do a lot with pension stuff. The town, since 2015, any new town employees are on the state pension system, and the town contributes to that state pension system based on the calculation. But the town has a legacy pension system for employees that were here before 2015. And for one reason or another, some of that has been underfunded in the last 5 years or so. And that's obviously a problem. We need to make sure that we are properly funding the pension system so that those people who are contributing to it are going to get all of the benefits that they are that they have rights to when they go to retire. So we did a study, looked at what it was going to take to make sure not only that we are putting in the right amount every year now, but that we get caught up for some of the pieces that we were underfunding for the last 5 or 6 years. And so we accepted that pension fund study and the results from that, which are will likely every year we'll have to increase our budget for funding the pension system to make sure that we get caught up and that we're keeping our employees and our staff whole when they ultimately come to retire. It's a 15-year study. There's a 15-year plan, but it puts us on the right footing to do right by the people who work for us. So that's really important. And then because of that, we had to make a couple of changes to our budget surplus priority policy, which says we can allocate additional funding if there's a budget surplus to help catch us up even faster. And our investment policy statements to reflect the changes that we made to it to hopefully use our investments to make sure that we're both safely managing and investing that money, and also getting the greatest return that we can reasonably get. So not terribly fun, interesting stuff, but important because ultimately the town staff are relying on that pension as their retirement, and we need to make sure we do right by them. So good things, not terribly interesting for the most part. So brings me to the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is I shared with the council this evening a little bit of a summary. I've got it here, and I'll post this in the comments so that you'll get a chance to take a look at it. I was talking with a few different people in the last week, a couple of people who work for financial institutions, a couple of contractors, developers, and sharing some of the things that we've done, that council has done in the last year, that I think set us on a much better footing to take advantage of economic development in our community over the next, really these are things that are going to change the community, but in the long term, the next 10, 15, 20 years. Some of these are stuff that I mentioned before. Last meeting, we approved the removal of the parking requirements for second and third floor apartments. That's really about getting people to in a better position to invest in properties in the downtown where there might be a first floor commercial space, and then second and third floor apartments where with the old requirements, it may have been impossible to actually develop those apartments. Now we are in a position where we can do some of that by removing that requirement. Also, changing our industrial office and research park zoning seems like a small thing, but making sure that our zoning makes it easy for businesses to locate in those districts, rather than making it difficult and having to make special exceptions of every time a new business comes along. Having zoning that better reflects the true use of those areas makes it a lot easier. From somebody who's been through the process of opening businesses and redeveloping properties, the more headaches you have, the longer it takes, the more it costs to make those sort of investments. And there's a calculation associated with all of that. The town shouldn't be the one in the way of somebody creating a business and bringing that economic activity to our community. In most cases, there's obviously always going to be a situation where there's something that we might not want, but for the vast majority of these uses, the town shouldn't be in the way, and some of these zoning changes do that. There are other things that are on this list. The lodging tax that we put in place to help fund public safety, the master planning for our parks, and some of the property acquisitions that we've just completed to help increase our available parkland. As our town grows, as the number of residents grows, we want to make sure that we have the park facilities available that people want. And so acquiring that land is actually, I consider that an economic development activity, because it is providing for the things that people want when they're looking for communities to come and locate their families. There were some other zoning pieces, some of these that are little things that don't seem all that big, but in the end make a big difference, is modernizing our approach to engineering and contracting, to make sure that the infrastructure investments that we're making, we're getting the best return from those. And we've seen what happens when we don't make investments in infrastructure, when you have failures or you have project overruns and things cost a lot. But those also stand in the way of economic activity. If there are infrastructure needs that aren't in place because of an engineering problem or something along the way, that might mean that a development doesn't get finished or a business can't locate in the place where they'd like to. And so being better about how we think about our engineering and being better about how we contract for those services improves what we're able to deliver for people in our community. So I see that as an economic development activity, even though it doesn't, it's not an easy one. So some good stuff here. In the end, I think I came up with 12 or 13 different bullet points of things, and this isn't everything. This is just what I came up with off the top of my head. But I like to share it because it's a tough thing. A lot of what economic development is not fancy, sexy, fun things, right? Like Popeye's Chicken is submitted to build over out on Route 13 across from the new Starbucks. That's kind of interesting and kind of cool, but a lot of what economic development is actually stuff that's behind the scenes. It's kind of boring, but it is how the town positions itself to be able to say yes and support those investments when they do come along. So I'll share this up. Folks can take a look at it, and obviously I'm happy as always to answer any kind of questions about it or things as they come up. But that's about it for me for tonight. Hope everybody has happy holidays. If you're traveling, do so safely, please. If you're not traveling and you're staying home, then I hope that you have a merry and bright Christmas. I know we're staying home. My mother is coming to visit us, which is great because all I have to do is cook a bunch of great food and don't have to spend any time in the car. So thanks again. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you all in the new year. Take care.